Hey everybody, just want to do a video today on, gonna still stick with some Enneagram topics for right now. I'll have more in the future, other topics, but I had a thought about doing a video on 4's disintegration to 2 and what that looks like. And I thought I'd give some examples from my own life, just to share with you what that was like for me. So when I first took the Enneagram test, they ask you a whole bunch of questions, and in one of my earlier videos I talk about, like, I just knew instantly what my type was. I wasn't one of those people who was still questioning, am I this or am I that? I knew pretty full on. I had other types that resonated with me more, like type 1 and type 5, a little bit, type 3 as well, but nothing hit me as deeply as the 4. Now, when I read type 2, and it's interesting because when I did read type 2, I found myself kind of cringing when I would read some of the bad habits. And I never knew in the past, why did I always get so angry at certain, like, it's a sanctimony, it's a kind of fragility, it's sort of like a schmaltziness, a sappiness that I would see from people, and where they would just defend things because they loved it, and it was all about the love, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? And that always irritated me. And I think this is very indicative of a 2. 2's, twos when unhealthy, or average 2s even, they have their own ways about them, but they like to indulge in, I can't say every 2, but the whole, like, kind of, they tend to be a little more idealistic in some ways. I've known 2s, and they kind of don't want to see their negative traits. They kind of brush them aside, and they want to just only see the positive. And then if you mention anything negative, they can be very annoying, and they're like, don't be negative. And I'm just like, oh, that irritates me. And a lot of 4s feel this way about unhealthy 2s. And I was thinking about how, when a 4 is retreating and depressive, you'll find a lot of artists tend to be 4s, because Edgar Allan Poe, Shelley, the Romantics, Shakespeare, Plath, many artists have been 4s, many writers, and myself included. They tend to retreat and they get their expression out. That's never going to happen with a 2. A 2 is not going to, when unhealthy, create any art. When unhealthy, they're going to meddle in your life. The only way a 2 could be artistic, all types are capable of being artists, but the only way a 2 could do it is really when they're integrated to 4, and when they become more self-expressive. They're more willing to look at the full picture of who they are. They don't sweep under the rug the negative qualities. They'll look at themselves as for who they are, and they do more for themselves. A lot of times, a lot of 2s will put others first, to the point of they neglect themselves, and in their desire to be unselfish, they're actually they're very selfish, because they're doing it for a reason. Now, it's very interesting, because I'm reading out of here. I just wanted to see what they say when they say reacting to stress, 4 goes to 2. Like 2s, 4s begin to worry about their relationships and seek ways to get closer to the people they like. They need a great deal of reassurance that the relationship is on solid ground. To this end, they frequently express their affections on the other and remind him or her how meaningful the relationship is. Now, I have done this. I remember, this is not something I've spoken about, but eventually I might do a video on this. I had someone in my life who was a narcissist, and I've known many narcissists, but he was a narcissist, and he was someone who I had an artistic connection to. And he was doing a lot of push-pull kind of tactics, and it's just a different subject, the manipulations he was doing. And these manipulations were causing me stress. They were triggering, like, feelings of abandonment, because it was a lot of blowing hot and cold, and he would, you know, throw the crumbs and things like this. And as for what Enneagram type he was, I'm not entirely sure, because he had narcissistic personality disorder. He wasn't, it's hard to diagnose, you know, assess someone's Enneagram when they have narcissistic personality disorder, when they have a personality disorder, because a lot, you know, the tactics are the same. And I think he was probably, though, type 5. He had a lot of 6, and he probably had a lot of 4, so unhealthy 5 would be my guess. But anyway, so as he was doing this push-pull, and I remember it was triggering feelings in me that I wasn't good enough, and because he, you know, he just was doing the whole narcissistic devaluation, I started to, I remember I was sending him gifts, like books to read, and he wasn't asking for it, but I was doing it in the hopes that it would like get him to come around, and he would learn how much he valued me. Also, I had another, I wasn't hearing from him, and he was being very distant and cold, and so like I found myself many years, this is like over 10 years ago, I went on Facebook and I started contacting people from my past, like that, like people I hadn't spoken to in over a decade, and I'm like, how you doing? And I contacted some old coworker, and I'm just like, how you doing? I wish you the blah blah blah, and it was just like really out of my character to do this. And I even ended up contacting this old boyfriend I had, my very first boyfriend from like when I was 14. I ended up contacting him, and you know, it wasn't any, he had a girlfriend, I mean, it wasn't like I was hooking up with him or anything, but it was just like, how you been? And this guy, I remember, had never been nice to me. He was another narcissist, a type 9 narcissist, completely like unmotivated. And I mean, I remember he at one point had promised to come by my university and we were gonna hang out and get together, and he never showed up, and then he never bothered telling me, and I mean, it was like he just left me outside waiting for him, and I mean, he was just did a lot of dick moves. And here I was contacting him, oh, how you been? And I'm trying to see the good and doing all this crap, rather than like, this guy's a dick, you know, like I have nothing in common with this guy, like why am I wasting my time? But I was just wanting that reassurance that I had value, so I was like doing things for these kinds of people, just, and there were people who I have no, you know, connection to, I don't have anything really in common with them. After, you know, some time went by and I felt better, there was no reason to like continue on. I eventually ended up defriending him, because I'm like, why do I even have this guy in my life? Like, he was always a jerk, like a passive-aggressive jerk, and it just made no sense. And so like, basically, if you have a type 4 who's suddenly reaching out to you and reaching out to tons of people and giving you gifts, you're probably not doing too well. I mean, I don't want to say that, you know, it's just not my nature to just go reach out to strangers. It doesn't mean I won't say, hey, how you doing? But my motivations were in the wrong place. You know, if I'm going to reach out to you, I'm going to do it because I genuinely want to know how you're doing. And I don't think I was being insincere in the time I was doing it, but I was in that state of mind where what I was really looking for was reassurance and some kind of validation that I was still worthy. So that's what going to 2 looks like. And I become also just more obsessed with other people's, what they're doing, finding myself comparing myself more, and coming out, you know, in the less position. And you know, another thing I came to learn, and eventually I am going to do a video on the social 4, but I've heard that social 4s, and I've done this, social 4s tend to do this sort of like frailty thing. Like, I'm so weak, don't hurt me. I'm going to make myself so vulnerable so you won't hurt me. And I've only done that like when I was really, really stressed. And when I found other people doing that, kind of using their suffering as a means to sort of like get you to like them or recognize something in them, really irks me. Like, and I never knew why. I was like, there's something incredibly fake, and it would just like literally dredge up feelings of disgust, like to that point. It was just disgusting to me, and I was like, I want nothing to do with that person. And even to this day, as far as even artists who've done this, I get very irritated by certain artists. Granted, it's total fair game. You write about what you want, you express what you want. Certainly putting pain and suffering in your work, I'm all for that, that's fine. But it's a little, it's when it goes to so much of a self-indulgence and it becomes my identity is my suffering, that just makes me cringe. And I think because it triggers in me my feelings of when I have done that. And that's what's so interesting about the Enneagram. In an Enneagram, you know, I still say, you know, I know it's a theory, it's not scientific, but it is a good guide, if you want it to be, that can help you understand these subconscious kind of motives and thoughts. And you sit there and think, oh, is that why I've been feeling that? Okay. And if you let it guide you and help you, the whole point of it is to get you out of this funk. That's why so much of the Enneagram is about your negative traits, to get you to integrate. You know, one of the channels I follow, Jennifer Brave, she made a point that she said, if you want to know how great you are, read Myers-Briggs. If you want to know what an asshole, how shitty you are, read the Enneagram. And but I do enjoy, as a type 4, I love reading about my negative qualities. You know, I don't know so much if someone was a 2, if they would enjoy it so much. It's hard to take for some people. Like I said, I had those feelings of disgust, but I liked that I learned from it. So, sorry, my nose itches. Anyway, I'm just gonna finish up. I just wanted also, I'm gonna do some more videos in the future on, I'd like to talk more about my writing and what I've been working on and my thoughts on that, but it's been a while since I shared my poetry book. This is the poetry book, Word Shapes. You can get it off Amazon. I have about 8 books available on Amazon, various novels and novella, short story collections, prose, mostly prose. This is the only poetry. I have an earlier video where I'm discussing an 11-part poem by Marina Tsvetaeva. I look really depressed in the video. I'm sort of like, I'm a 4. It's kind of funny. It's like the second video. But you know, if you want to check that out, and this book is going for $8.99 and $10.99 paperback. I always encourage the paperback because I just think poetry needs to be read with a paperback, and it's nice quality. And I would share some of my other books, like hold them up, but I don't have the paperback copies of them. They're available though. And in there, like in my book Marlys, you can read about kind of me going to 2. I'm dating this 7 in college who's totally not good for me, but why am I with him? Because I don't want to be alone, and I'm just, that whole book especially deals with a loss of identity. If you want that one, Marlys is the title. And so I'm gonna do some more videos in the future about not just the books I have released, but what I've worked on in these past, say, 10 years. I haven't released anything that I've written past 2009. So there is a link to my books and my Facebook page on my YouTube homepage thing. But if you are hard-pressed for money and you're like, man, I really want to read this, but I just don't have, you know, $8.99, you want to just message me and I can send it to you, or if any of them, or if you want to read something more recent, I'll send it to you, you know? No strings, okay? I don't hound people. Tell me what you thought. I'm not a 2, you know? So that I will not be. Anyway, I think that's all I have for right now. It's a pleasant Saturday. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday wherever you are. I'm going to have other videos. I'll probably talk more. In time, I plan to talk more about that narcissistic experience, how I overcame that, the stresses I went from as a result of dealing with that, and that threw me to 2. And I'll do another video. I think I'm going to talk about integration, going to 1, and what that's like. But I'll be in touch, and thank you all very much for listening. Have a pleasant Saturday. Thank you.